Then you can just click the score on the test. So.
Thank you. Okay, so guys, I am going to share my screen with you. We're going to go ahead and read this together. The reason I'm doing this, I know you're capable of doing this all by yourself, but I want to fill in some blanks. So you might want to take notes along the way. You can write directly on this. So if you want to take a note, just write right here if you want. You can write in the article. You can put a little star or change the font color if you want to make it known that those are your own personal notes, because if you have to scroll back and forth, it might take too long, okay? All right, so I'm gonna start here. Please feel free to ask questions along the way. I cannot see your hand in the chat because it blocks my screen. So actually, can I do that with this? I can. Okay, so if you have a question right now, go ahead and put your hand in the chat before I start. Okay, so we're gonna just go ahead and start. So Cro-Magnon. The Cro-Magnon man is the earliest known Homo sapien living in Europe. So I don't want you to get confused. They didn't evolve and become Homo sapiens 40,000 years ago. They moved into Europe 40,000 years ago. So when we refer to Cro-Magnon, we are speaking about Homo sapiens that lived in Europe during the Ice Age. Okay? We are not referring to all Homo sapiens. So that is all. So when we say Homo sapien, we're just talking about us, but we are living in Europe at the time, okay? Cro-Magnon lived from about 40,000, so they came to Europe around 40,000 years ago, to about 10,000 years ago. You will definitely need that information. You can also highlight, guys. I know I've shown you before, but let's go ahead and just, if you know for sure you're going to need that information, why don't you just do this? Highlight, and then go up here and click whatever color you like, okay? Cro-Magnon did not become extinct. In fact, we are still thriving on Earth right now. Around 10,000 years ago, Homo sapiens discovered a few incredible things. First, we learned how to domesticate animals and plants. Guys, that was huge. That changed the life of the Homo sapiens in a profound way. So for the first time in human history, we did not have to rely solely on hunting and gathering. That's pretty amazing. We realized, hey, if we put a boy animal and a girl animal together, they will have more animals. We can create ways to keep them penned in, and we will have a food source. So that's pretty big, because up until then, nobody had been able to do that. So we domesticated not only animals, but plants, and we realized that we could grow our own plants. And you would think it was from seed at first, but it actually wasn't. The first way that we discovered that was from plants that can be cut, stuck in the ground, and grow again, okay? So I don't know if you've ever done that with basil or any herbs, but if you cut a piece of basil and you put it into water, it will grow. It will grow roots. You can regrow basil without seeds. You can regrow lots of things like that. So the first thing that we did, the first, plants that we domesticated were plants that had fallen on the ground and they regrew. And we realized, hey, we can do that. We can plant food. And that's what happened around 10,000 years ago. So we started to domesticate not only plants, but animals. Huge, okay? All right. So let's see, I would highlight that for sure. Around the same time, we created the world's first symbol writing system. In other words, we began to read and write, and the world has never been the same. The word homo is derived from a Latin word meaning man or human being. It also means same, guys, but in this case, we took it from the Latin word meaning human, okay? So, and then the word sapien means wise. So basically, Homo sapien means wise man. Well, when Homo sapiens began to read and write and domesticate plants and animals, modern humans decided those discoveries were so incredibly huge that we deserved a name change. So drum roll, we renamed ourselves the Homo sapiens sapiens, or the wise men, which always cracks me up because that's so human to take a good name like the wise men and make it even better by saying we're wise. I love it. It's just very human-like. Okay, moving on. The Cro-Magnon is named after its first findings. They were discovered by, we got to let Ian back in. Sorry about that. They were discovered by Louis Cartet and Henry Christie in March of 1867 in the Cro-Magnon cave of, let me see how to say this, Dordogne, France? I don't know how to say that. I'm so sorry. Cro-Magnon coexisted. I see your hands. Let me just finish this little paragraph. Cro-Magnon coexisted with Neanderthal man for a time and flourished in southern Europe during the last ice age. Okay, I'm going to pause my recording for my other class. Give me 1 second. Okay. So Cro-Magnons were identical to modern humans. That's because we are the exact same species. There's no difference between us. We are the same people. They were robustly built and powerful. The body was generally heavy and solid with a strong musculature. They're muscular, you guys. Now, listen, they're going to be more muscular than us, way more muscular. That doesn't mean that they're not they're not the same as modern humans. It's just that we have Starbucks and McDonald's and pizza delivery, and we don't have to hunt for our food. We don't have to plant our crops. So obviously they're going to be in more muscular shape than us. They were also taller. They were up to 6 feet 3 inches. Think of some of the Europeans of today are still very, very, very tall. Now, modern Americans, the average man is 5'9". Average woman is 5'4", okay? So in Europe, the Cro-Magnons were much taller than us. Now that's just the European Cro-Magnons, okay? I mean, that's all that Cro-Magnons are, but Homo sapiens ranged in height, but the Cro-Magnons were pretty tall. Cro-Magnons were straight-limbed and tall compared to the contemporary Neanderthals. The forehead was straight with slight brow ridges and a tall forehead. Cro-Magnons were the first humans, genus Homo, to have a prominent chin, like us. The Cro-Magnons had long, fairly low skulls with a wide face and a prominent nose. The brain capacity was 1350. That's us too. 1,350 cubic centimeters. I would highlight that. All right, this is going to be right here that I'm going to read. You are basically going to need all of that because we're talking about weapons here, and that's one of your paragraphs. All right, so the Cro-Magnon weapons included stone axes. I wish there were pictures here. I'm going to have to show you guys in a few minutes. Knives. These were so much more sophisticated, guys. I really just think you're going to need to add photos to understand this. They had amazing spears because they invented something called a projectile point. Projectile is something when you throw it. So they invented a lightweight spear that could be thrown really far distances. So for the first time in human history, we did not have to always risk our lives when hunting because we could throw the weapon as opposed to walking straight up to a deer, to a buck, for example, that has knives or swords growing out of their forehead, We always think of them like Bambi. They will fight back if they need to defend themselves. So for the first time, we could throw the spear as opposed to walking right up to a buck or another animal that has claws and things like that. So it was much, much safer. Okay, so they hunted mainly with throwing spears, harpoons. They also hunted with harpoons. I mean, come on, that's super advanced. And those were constructed out of rope, sinew. I'm going to write sinew in here. Bones and a large stick, and were used to catch whales. So that's pretty amazing. Here's the projectile point I was talking about. It was made out of stone and wood to kill animals. The Cro-Magnon used many different materials for making tools, and some of these materials included stones, bones, antlers, teeth, and ivory. One thing, I don't know if it talks about it in this article, but they were the first humans to make toys. We have found toys that they've made for their children, and they basically just reflected nature. They would make little toy bears for their children and things like that. No, they didn't have wheels, so no cars or anything like that. Obviously, there were no cars, but nothing with wheels because the wheel hadn't been invented yet. But there were evidence of toys for children. All right. Like the Neanderthals, the Cro-Magnon were primarily big game hunters. They ate mammoth, cave bears, horses, reindeer. Cro-Magnons are believed to have had a varied and balanced diet. I don't like the word believed. They did have a varied diet. How do we know that? Because we were able to study the fossilized feces just like we did for the Neanderthal. So their diet included meat and grains, wild carrots, beets, onions, turnips, and lots of other foods, okay? They were the first to make pots to hold water to cook food in. So they were the first, there's lots of evidence of that. We have found their pots. They also made tea with herbs that they found. You have to remember they're us, you guys. It's hard to think of them like that because it was so long ago, but they're the exact same species as us. So we did a lot of the same exact things. The Cro-Magnons did wear clothing. In colder climates, they learned to soften the leather to make warm, comfortable clothes. And they were actually sewn together. So the Neanderthals would slice holes into the clothes and wear them like ponchos or tie them to their bodies. But they did not have needle and thread where these Cro-Magnon did. And I wouldn't actually call it thread. It was more like thin sinew. But they did have needles, and they were able to sew their clothes together. In warmer climates, they made cooler clothes from woven grass and even from bark. They made necklaces and bracelets out of shells, teeth, feathers, flowers, and bone. Some decorated their bodies with paint and tattoos made from natural dyes. We do all of that still today, you guys. I paint my body every single day. So do some of your parents. What am I talking about?
Makeup?
Exactly, makeup. That's the modern day like body painting, right? I mean, we think that we're so different, right? We really do. When we think of them painting their faces and doing that, we think of that as kind of strange, like we're separate from them. We are not separate from them. We've just changed what we do. I paint my face every single day, okay? No, it is not with paint, it's with makeup, but it's still me putting something unnatural on my face to make it look different. And that's what they did too, okay? Yes, it's for different reasons, but we're very much alike. We just do things in a more modern way. Some of us still make necklaces out of shells. I know some of you have necklaces made of shells. Some of us have shark teeth necklaces. My son has a shark tooth necklace that he thinks is super cool. So we actually do all of the same things that they did. It's just in a more modern way. These early humans often lived in caves due to the Ice Age. At times, they would take over into the Neanderthal caves to make them their own. The Cro-Magnon also built permanent homes when the climate was warmer. They made huts from branches and mammoth bones and covered animal skins. Guys, these huts were ridiculously sophisticated compared to prior huts. Please don't think of a stick hut. They sewed the animal skins together, and it was not a teepee. So don't think of a teepee. It was shaped very differently. Again, a photo would be nice right here. You guys are going to have to go look those photos up on your own, but they're amazing, and they would last for a long time. Now, what the Cro-Magnon did, you guys, and it's not, I don't think it says it in here, but they did not stay in the cave all year. They would stay in the cave in the winter, and then they would go to their homes in their winter homes and then their summer homes. So they had a hut for the summers and caves for the winters, and they would travel very far depending on where the animals and water were. So they didn't stay in one place the whole year. They went to warmer places. Of course, when it was summertime, they would go to warmer places, live outside more, and they didn't need to be inside of a dark, damp cave, okay? They could be outside and then sleep in like what we would consider like a tent, okay? Then they would pack up their things and go back to their cave for the winter. So they had two homes, okay? Two of them. One for summer, one for winter. All right, so these huts were used for many years, so they built them carefully. Holes were dug deeply into the ground, poles were inserted into these holes, and then tied together with string made from animal guts, otherwise known as sinew. Warm furs were laid all over the structure and sewn tightly in place. Large rocks were piled around the bottom to help hold the hut together. In the summer, the tribe moved following the animals. They lived in sturdy tents that could be moved from place to place. Some of them those were more for the hunters, the ones that could be moved from place to place. Okay. As winter approached, they returned to their winter shelters. Quite often, they had to chase out wildlife that had moved in during their absence. I bet that happened every time. Okay, this is pretty long. How are you guys doing? Anybody fading? Why don't we talk for a second? I'm going to pause this video. Hold on. So I'm going to go ahead and start just because then you guys can get to work, okay? All right, so last two. The Cro-Magnon made fine artwork. Guys, it's amazing. You will not believe what they could do with just the rocks that they found around them or the chars from the wood that they had burned. They painted marvelous and astonishing paintings on rock walls deep within caves. Paintings were added until a cave might have hundreds of different paintings by many different painters. Most cave paintings focused on hunters and animals. I'm so sorry, excuse me. Oh. Let's see, where was I? Early humans used natural colors. Most art was not made with charcoal, but rather with mineral pigments such as iron oxide, which is red, or black magnesium. They also did use charcoal, but it wasn't as common. So they had lots of colors in them, but they were all earth tones, of course. They drew stick figures for people, but the animals were well drawn and usually filled in with natural colors to give them even more shape and substance. They also decorated tools and created clay figures, ivory carvings, and, of course, musical instruments out of plants, wood, and animal skins. So they did everything that we do. It's just that, like I said, we are more modern than them. So they sang, they danced, they had musical instruments, they made toys, they made art, everything that we do today. Still, they're the first to do it, though, okay? Cro-Magnons were able to produce clear speech to develop a more advanced oral language and means of communication. Obviously, look what we're doing right now. This enabled them to share information, work together, pass down knowledge and traditions, organize hunting and gathering trips, speak more complex thoughts, including planning for the future. Their ability to use language enabled them to make a more advanced culture. They were able to create social alliances. For the first time, guys, they could make social alliances. Neanderthals all spoke different languages. They did not. They could go to other people and communicate with them in better ways. And even if they didn't speak the same language, they could think critically and figure it out. Okay, so when I was in Spain, I didn't know the word for train, okay? And I can remember asking the woman, do you know where the train station is? Because I was lost. And she had no idea what I was saying. So I didn't just give up. I got out a pen and I drew a train. And then she was able to point and show me. And that's very similar to what they could have done. You know, you can still communicate even if you don't speak the same language. So it's even thought that the Cro-Magnon may have created the first calendar. So in my opinion, and it's just an opinion, their greatest, besides of course reading and writing, that was huge, but I think language was their biggest accomplishment because of all the things they could do because of it. I mean, even language did lead to reading and writing, but they had a complex language like us. So I would love to show you a few pictures right now because I think that's super important. So I'm a little scared to screen share with you guys live. Let me go to .edu so that nothing inappropriate comes up. I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to go to Cro-Magnon. Let me go to advanced. Where are my advanced search? Come on. Okay, settings. Remember, you go to advanced search. And then you go to Cro-Magnon and where's my site or domain? .edu. Advanced search. And then let's go to images. Okay, so Cro-Magnon looked like us, obviously. They didn't have the same style as us, but I would like to show you Cro-Magnon cave art. There you go. So I cannot draw as well as many of these. If you look at like this one right here, I couldn't do that. I really could not, you guys. I mean, I know some of you are artists, but this is definitely advanced. Okay. I could maybe do this one, but not this one right here. That's just gorgeous. So they painted their caves, the inside of their caves, until they were completely painted. Okay. This one's not an example. I don't know why that's there. So there's cave art. And then I want to show you, actually, I'm going to let you guys look up tools on your own. Just so I'm not doing all of that. Let me stop screen sharing with my other class. Let's push, hold on. Pause.